Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Untangle 101 webinar series. Today, we'll be going through Untangle's NG Firewall product, the platform, and what it can do to help your network environment. So if you're unfamiliar with Untangle and our solutions, then this webinar is perfect for you. My name is Shannon Bonfiglio. I'm part of the marketing team here, and I'll be your host today. I also have with us one of our sales engineers, Chad McNaughton, who will be taking us through the presentation and demonstration. Now, just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. If you are selecting to use a phone, you will need to dial in and use the access code provided. You can also use your computer audio. So just make sure you have the right audio preference selected. As always, we'll be answering questions throughout this webinar. On the right-hand side, you'll see a little questions box. Please just put any of your questions in there. We have a few staff members on hand to help answer those questions, and we have a Q&A section at the end. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to rewatch or share the recording whenever you want to watch it. It'll be posted on the Untangle YouTube channel along with all of our other webinars. If we don't end up getting to your question, or if you have a very specific question about your network, or you want a demo or a specific one-on-one demo, please email us at sales@untangle.com. We'd be happy to set that up for you. And with that, I'll pass it over to Chad.
All right, thanks, Shannon. Everyone, as Shannon said, this is Untangle 101, Intro to Untangle. We won't be doing a deep dive into the software, technical aspects, not jumping down a lot of rabbit holes within the Untangle solution here. The goal of these webinars is to introduce Untangle to anyone that's unfamiliar with it. So if you're one of our longtime daily admins, and one of the long-term Untangle users, this is not the one for you, like Shannon said. So this is an overview intended for a very general audience. So like I said, we're not diving into real technical aspects, troubleshooting, anything like that. We're going to do a quick overview. As you can see on the first slide here, there is a very interesting cybersecurity opportunity in the SMB market right now. Some of these statistics are becoming a little startling. As you can see in just the rise in things like ransomware, malware, stuff like that affecting small businesses, it's kind of a new thing. They're becoming easy targets for cyber criminals because not every small business thinks they need something like a next generation firewall or a web filter, content filter there at their gateway. So because of that, SMBs are becoming aware of a growing threat here for things, specifically, I think, like ransomware. In a small business, ransomware can be devastating. If you get hit for even a few $100s, a few $1,000s, depending on the size of your business, that could be a real problem. And here at Untangle, we go down to as far as, a couple of devices, 1, 2, 3 employees. That's a very, very, very small business, but that business is even a target now for things like ransomware, malware, all that kind of stuff. So the main disadvantage for small to medium businesses is always a lack of resources and a lack of budget, things like that. Not every small business has a dedicated network admin or IT technician even. So lacking expertise can be a problem. That's one of the reasons why a vendor like Untangle is so handy, because you do have access to a live support team here. You can get a tech on the phone, things like that. And to be honest, a lot of small businesses are really daunted by, for one, the cost of employing something like this on the network, and then also just the complexity of network security. So Untangle goes to pretty great lengths to try to simplify some of those things with our interfaces and things like that. But as you can see, 50% of SMBs have experienced an attack at this point. And 70% of all attacks are targeted at small to medium businesses. So that's alarming to me. This is a rising trend, and I don't see it really changing. Unfortunately, it's just kind of the nature of the world now. So small, medium businesses, even down to 1, 2 employees, your insurance office where there's 3 employees, 5 computers, that kind of thing. A network that small needs protection now because everyone's becoming a target in this new kind of malware, ransomware age. So this is where we would want to introduce you to Untangle. Untangle is a really interesting solution at your gateway. Your computers, your endpoints should always have things like antivirus installed on them, that kind of stuff, but Untangle can do things at the gateway that those things aren't even trying to do. So what we are technically is a comprehensive UTM device. This is a unified threat management. We're not just a firewall. We're not just a content filter. We're a UTM now. So we focus on small and medium-sized businesses, and our solution is quick and easy to deploy, pretty easy to manage. So we just get everything protected as soon as we can, and it's all manageable through the cloud. Everything's really easy to get going. When you install our recommended apps just through our wizard, you've installed basically our baseline config. You know, this is kind of our best practices because there is some filtering done for you by default out of the gate. Some of the benefits here, this is a pretty low cost subscription-based software solution. The cool thing is that you can leverage existing hardware or virtual environment or even a cloud environment now. Untangle, I think, is very different in that aspect, especially in this industry, is that you don't have to run this on Untangle hardware. Maybe you have a piece of hardware that works already. You can install us on that and use that. All you have to do is license software for whatever apps you need. It can also be a very easy kind of plug and play deployment. A big aspect of that is our centralized management in the cloud called Command Center. So with Command Center and something like our configuration backup module with our complete package, you can create a baseline config for all your devices and keep that active. If you need to, just bring your config down from the cloud, push that config to other devices that are eligible. It becomes a very easy thing. And this is going to give you multiple channels of support as well, because you can, you know, get support from the forums, the wiki, the support team here. You can always email us at support@untangle.com or pre-sales@untangle.com if you just have a few questions for the sales engineers here. And we also provide very proactive, actionable alerts and notifications. This has kind of been updated here for version 13.2, which we're on now. We can create alerts in the cloud now in Command Center. We've created notification profiles that can sync to things like PagerDuty or Zendesk. Some really, really advanced alerts and notifications now. And then we also do have advanced remote support. You know, if you have that live support module, we can jump in and remotely access your server, you know, give you any troubleshooting steps, access your command line, help out with things like that. And then the seamless transparency is a big part of Untangle too, because whether we're installed in router or bridge mode, you know, we're just going to be an inline filter, you know, so all the traffic has to pass through us. In a transparent bridge mode, nobody even knows we're there. You can install us right now and not impact traffic. You don't change gateway addresses, anything like that. So if you're looking to protect your monitor, your network, Untangle is a very, very interesting product now, because day one, we're protecting your network. Everyone's sealed off with no open ports for outside traffic. And then as you add paid applications to it, it becomes a really, really comprehensive filtering, firewall, antivirus, everything you can think of that a UTM tries to do solution. So let's talk about some Untangle products real quick. We do have quite a few. And as we scroll through the slides here, you'll see all this stuff's available on our website. So if you go to untangle.com, you can see our pricing, you can see our appliances. All of our technical specs are available online as well. If you do need to use your own hardware, you're going to source your own parts, you can look at our specs, things like that, and kind of go off that for what we base our hardware specs on for your device count. As it stands, the Untangle NG Firewall platform is basically our free package. That's the platform onto which we subscribe to paid apps. We can add, you know, just an individual web filter app, or we could say, I want the complete package. You know, if you're qualify for nonprofit or public sector discounts on our complete package. You know, those are really, really big discounts on the software. So depending on what you're looking to do, you can install individual apps on top of the NGFW platform. This is where you can come in, do deep packet inspection, you know, virus blocking with cloud callouts and local databases. You get your live custom reports. We'll show you here on our demo server the dashboard that the reports generate, that kind of stuff. But it's a very, very fully featured UTM solution once you get everything installed, especially when we're doing things like SSL inspection that make us do our deep packet inspection. Some of the features from Untangle have been around for a while. Some of these are pretty new, but in general, you know, we break it down into about 6 categories here for the different apps. So these are the apps that you'll find available in Untangle's complete package. So just out of the gate, you know, with our free package, you'll get our firewall app, intrusion prevention, a light version of virus blocker and application control. The complete package, however, is everything you see on this screen. So that actually includes live support and branding manager. So to me, when I'm, you know, doing these initial talks with customers, things like that, it depends. If you're needing to filter the internet in 2018, I always recommend our complete package, for example, because it requires an app or two. You know, about 80% of the entire internet is encrypted with HTTPS these days. So it's a little more complicated to filter the internet than it used to be 2 or 3 years ago, even. So within the complete package, as you can see, we can also use a number of different VPN options. We have IPsec, OpenVPN, and Tunnel VPN, depending on what kind of connection you need. We also offer a captive portal, traffic shaping with bandwidth control, WAN balancing, and failover. So like I said a couple times, it's a very full-featured UTM device with all this stuff available under our complete package. I mentioned briefly some deployment methods, but there officially are quite a few because Untangle is now a hybrid cloud product. So we can manage the box through the cloud, even an on-premise device, even a virtual appliance. All that's done through Command Center. That's our centralized management that I mentioned. The interesting thing about the Untangle solution is a lot of these UTM devices, things like this, will require different steps for different applications to step in and do their actual inspection, which is proxy chaining. And it's not very efficient. So we actually do virtual pipelining. So all of our apps inspect packets at the same time. So it's a little bit faster system. I think it's a little cleaner. And like I said, we do have a little bit lighter hardware footprint. This runs Linux Debian. So the actual overhead, computer processing power, that kind of stuff is minimized. It's Debian. So it doesn't require a whole lot of power. If you look into our technical specs on our hardware, you'll see that, even up to, 500 devices or so, the specs, the actual hardware we're using are actually still pretty affordable and manageable. It can be run on pretty small hardware. If you have a little cheap device with 2 network cards in it, see if Untangle will run on it. It just might. Whether it's our hardware or yours, there are a lot of different options between virtual appliances, Microsoft Azure and Amazon cloud systems, and then our hardware or yours. I've mentioned the cloud a few times with Command Center, our centralized management platform, but the other aspect of our cloud system is Scout IQ. So this is basically our threat intelligence platform hosted in the Untangle cloud. So it's aggregating telemetry data from NG Firewall boxes around the world. So an Untangle box somewhere around the world sees a piece of information with a piece of malware. It ties all that information to that malware and throws it into Scout IQ, where it's assessed and then spread and disseminated to all the other Untangles around the world. So it's a pretty impressive system. If you want to look it up on our site, it's under the cloud tab on untangle.com. That's where you can look at our intelligence map too and watch that real-time data transfer. So we're identifying threats seen in the wild as soon as possible. So when one Untangle sees a new threat, it sends it into Scout IQ, and Scout IQ then tells everyone else about it. So it's a really interesting system. We're trying to cast a pretty wide net here. There are close to 50,000 Untangle devices worldwide. So as many of those that are leveraging our cloud system at Scout IQ, we're getting information from all of those, tens of thousands of devices worldwide. So it's a really interesting system. It's doing some really cool stuff, and it's included at no additional cost. It's just part of our virus blocker apps. As I mentioned, Command Center is our cloud-based centralized management. So this is where you can manage multi-site deployments. You don't need any additional hardware. This is all available in the cloud. Log in on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, whatever you want. You can now manage licensing, updates, backups, policies, sub-admin accounts, all that kind of stuff. One of the cool things is those, I say sub-admin accounts. That's not really what they are. They're admin accounts, but you can assign an admin on your team now to just have access to one Untangle server or 2 Untangle servers. So when that admin logs into Command Center, they don't see any of your billing information, your subscriptions, your invoices. They only see the server they have access to. So that's a handy thing too, I think, in the account creation there in Command Center. This is also where you can now clone and push policies across your entire fleet of Untangle. With another eligible box, you can create a policy in Command Center and just send it to that device from the cloud. So this is handy because it's going to reduce overhead and costs, things like that. You don't have to travel on site to do this kind of stuff anymore. If you were concerned about leaving remote access open all the time, now you can do this stuff with one click through our SSL proxy server through Command Center. So that's a handy thing. Command Center is a really cool option. If you have that complete package on a server, that makes it eligible for Command Center. I'm running our current version of Untangle. And then from there, like I said, you can remote in, you can see reports, you can see aggregated alerts from blocked threats, viruses, things like that. It's a really, really handy system. So I've mentioned some of these already. I think some of the key differentiators between Untangle and other companies in this industry, to me, come down to ease of use and ease of deployment. And I mentioned some of these. We are built specifically for SMB deployments. this is enterprise level security, but we have these attractive user-friendly interfaces that make it a little bit simpler. One of the other differentiators that ties into that, I think, is that Untangle is still a small business. There's still less than 40 of us total. So we understand, we're a small business that supports small business. Some other companies in this industry are maybe, much larger corporations, enterprise level solutions, and they've not exactly, taken all of the small business support aspects to heart like we have. So I think that's a big part of it too. Our solution is browser based with fully responsive admin. So this basically installs a virtual machine that loads a little browser called Chromium. So this is a virtual machine on top of hardware, even when you have a physical device. But like I said, the recommended settings, you can see there are default settings, are tuned to real world use cases. So we have wizard-based configs for a lot of the apps, but when you install Untangle, you'll run through a setup wizard and it'll ask you, do you want to install recommended apps or custom apps? I tend to start with recommended apps because that's for more or less the Untangle baseline set. That's the apps we think you need. It's the filtering we think you need, et cetera, et cetera. So we do have very comprehensive bandwidth shaping capabilities. For anything we're processing at layer 7, we use bandwidth control. For bypass traffic, we can use QoS at layer 3. But we also can manage quotas, put people in penalty boxes, things like that, take away their bandwidth. They feel shame, all kinds of fun stuff. And we do automatic upgrades as well. So you can set your Untangle to do automatic upgrades anytime there's a new software release. Your Untangle will upgrade in the background. You can set a schedule. You can also do it manually if you like. All our upgrades are always free. We don't charge for upgrades on our software version, anything like that. I mentioned it a few times, software, it's a software-based solution. It can be deployed in a lot of different ways. One of the cool things is you can trial Untangle for 2 full weeks of our complete package that includes live support. So you can go to untangle.com, click on the download tab, and you can download either an image, an ISO, or an OVA file actually written for VMware. So you'll get 2 full weeks. Like I said, support's included. If you're playing around with that trial and you have some questions, you can't find a quick answer on our wiki site or our forums, as long as support's installed on your little trial server, just pick up the phone. You can get our team in Colorado here on the horn with you, and they could walk you through any of that kind of stuff. And then again, the cloud-based centralized management and on-device reporting is included. None of that's an additional cost, and you don't need any extra hardware. Our reporting engine is really, really robust now, and it does tie all that stuff into Command Center now for reports and alerts and things like that. Just a little bit of, bragging about ourselves here. We are getting some good recognition here in various communities. We've won some awards here in 2017. We won a Cody award there. You can see we won a Govy award for Security Today. So I like all these things as word of mouth, but my favorite thing mentioned on this page is under Service Awards, where we once again won for customer service and technical support from Best in Biz. And I don't think that can be overstated, to be honest. Our support team is world class. They average 96, 97% satisfaction rates. They answer the phone in about 20 seconds. And they're one of our bigger selling points, I feel like. It's all US based. Like I said, the team's out here in my office in Colorado. They're being very cool right now and staying quiet while I do this webinar. But our support team is one of the best I've found. And I put them above pretty much anyone when I start talking competitors and things like that. We also have a pretty vibrant community on Spiceworks. I'm our brand rep there. If you ever have a question, you want to tag Untangle, that kind of stuff, I'll shoot an answer over real quick. If you want to, send me a private message on Spiceworks to arrange a demo, that kind of stuff, we can do that too. We have been voted best software firewall and best content filter solution there by Spiceworks users, which is a pretty big community there, And then just the Untangle community forums are actually really, really active now. We're a big part of the Linux community, so it's a very active DIY community. If you post on the Untangle forums, you do not have to be worried about getting ridiculed or made fun of, that kind of stuff. It's a very helpful community. A lot of those answers are provided by our engineering team and our QA team. A lot of Untangle employees, keep up to date on the forums and things like that and provide really, really good information. Just some customer quotes here. You can see some big organizations that Untangle's been implemented in, kind of singing our praises. A lot more of this is available on our site on untangle.com. There's a case studies tab. You can go see what other organizations kind of like yours are thinking, how they use Untangle, what they like, what they dislike. I'm not going to tell you everyone loves it, but all these people love it. So there's a lot of case studies on our site and our YouTube, things like that. As we grow, rapidly here. We're getting more and more into the government sector, the educational sector. So some of these bigger organizations are adopting something like Untangle just for the ease of use, and sometimes the cost with those big government or nonprofit discounts. So we're going to jump over to my demo server here real quick so we can run through the Untangle interface. So let's go ahead and jump over there right now. So you guys should be seeing my live demo server here. This is always live. This is demo.untangle.com. You can jump in here at any time, play around. The only thing it won't let you do is save any changes, but other than that, have fun. Because this is my demo server that doesn't save changes, this is kind of what you can picture Untangle looking like out of the box if you run our recommended apps during the wizard. So as it stands, Untangle, when you log into Untangle, it brings you into a dashboard. If you've installed our recommended apps, reports will generate this dashboard and our reports viewer. So with all that stuff installed, this is what you get when you open up Untangle. And by default, our widgets here are focused on server metrics and the geolocation. I'm looking at my various policies here for my teachers and my students and a CPU load. And as we scroll down here though and let these render, you'll see that we're actually also pulling reporting data from basically our top 10 favorite reports. You see client IPs there because by default, Untangle sees host names as IPs unless they're presented host names. If you have something like an Active Directory or Radius or OAuth that we can leverage, we would want to edit this, get rid of those host name widgets, and probably go change that to usernames. So to do that, we can just come up here to our Manage Widgets button and say, well, I need to add all the username widgets. So I'm going to start typing username. So there they are. So here's one. I'm just going to go ahead and add that. That's fine. But for the host names, I want to turn those off. So I'll just turn them off right here. This is a really handy dashboard system. I can't find another one even remotely like this. This customizable, this dynamic. If you want, you can reset your widgets right here. If you don't want to just focus on a single hour of data, which is our default, you can also change the time frame of these widgets now. So this is new for version 13.2 as of a couple weeks ago. So maybe I just want to see an entire workday of data instead of just an hour. So now we can take a peek and these will all redraw themselves. You see, there they go. They're changing from an hour to 8 hours now. So a lot of these widgets can also be resized. You can download a graph basically of the chart and just shoot that over to a non-admin, maybe a teacher or a boss, somebody like that who's not an admin wants a quick peek at some information. You can just download a PNG and email it to them. You can also change the size of these widgets. If you want them to be tiny or ginormous, we can do that. And if we want to, we can click Open in Reports, and that's going to take us out to the actual full report in our reports viewer. So I can click that right there. I can also just come over here and click on Reports, and it'll show me all the Untangle default reports. There's about 400 built in. So as you can see on the left, we have a pretty deep dive into the Untangle config there, even down to the network and admin level. I can click on Administration Reports and see which admins logged in and what settings they changed, stuff like that. But as you can see, we can even just say, well, I'm curious about what's currently being blocked on the internet. I just want to see a session viewer showing me blocked. So there they are. This is all being blocked. It shows you why. It shows you the category it's blocked in. It would show you usernames right there. And there's a lot more information available here. So these reports are pretty great right out of the box. But as it stands, you can also come in and customize any of these reports. If I wanted to, say, customize this one into a little bit different report, I don't like the way this one looks, it's missing a field, I can come to Settings right here and, just kind of go crazy with customization if I want. And then I can save that as a new report right here and throw it on my dashboard. Or, as of Untangle 13.2, I can also create a new blank report now. So this is a new thing for us. It's only a couple of weeks old. It's a really cool feature that we've wanted to implement for a while. We're actually doing a webinar on that here, I believe, later this week on creating custom reports and new reports, which is a pretty cool feature. In the past, it's been a little bit too steep of a learning curve, but as you can see with that menu I brought up, they've really simplified things and made it pretty easy. So we'll walk you guys through that later in the week in another webinar. But just know that I really don't know that there's a report Untangle can't generate or create or tweak now. If we're doing deep packet inspection and all the apps are installed, you have visibility into every single thing you could think of, over there through those apps. Untangle reporting can now also keep up to 1 year of data. That would be the limitation here for the amount of data you could go back and look at. If you want to change that to a date range, you can do it here. This will depend on the data you're retaining. So that's actually handled through our reports app, which lives over here on our apps menu. So this is what the Untangle apps look like. It's got kind of a, a web store, app store feel. So this is my complete package installed. You can see we have every single app running. A couple of these are actually redundant. They're here for demo purposes. You won't see things like Web Monitor and Web Filter ever installed together. Web Filter does all of what Web Monitor does, but it also filters the web. What I want to show you real quick is under the reports module. As I said, this is where we retain as much data as you need, up to a year. If you want to keep a month or so, you can enter that right there. We can also configure Google Drive here to upload data to data or CSVs to a Google Drive folder. We can also enable syslog events to offload reports and things like that if you guys want to enable those. If you're keeping more than a month of data or so, we usually recommend offloading things like that. But like I said, up to a year is possible now. So that is, more or less excessive for a lot of networks, but it's also required for some of our customers. So if you need it, we can keep up to a year of data, and that's where we do that and configure Google Drive. I mentioned non-admin users also wanting some email information from reports. So if we wanted to, we could set up an email template for a non-admin to get some information about their Untangle system. So if a CEO or principal, someone like that, wants to see, web usage or top sites being visited, that kind of stuff, bandwidth consumption, we can create a template for them here where we eliminate the extraneous parts and then just shoot them the 2 pieces of information they want to see. We would create them as a reports user right here. We would choose their template. And then that person, whether they want alerts or reports or just online access, will get only the pieces of information they want rather than the entire dump of information from the Untangle config summary, because that's a pretty big report. So as you can see, we're on basically my default policy here. One of our kind of bread and butter apps is Policy Manager. So one of the real big aspects of Untangle is tying into directories and leveraging usernames. That's a big part of compliance standards for things like SIPA and some other PCI compliances, things like that here in the States at least. So what we can do is, if we're leveraging something with usernames or user groups, we can create different groups based on those usernames or user groups. We can also create those groups based on a lot of different criteria. If you have, for example, public Wi-Fi plugged into a wireless access point generating public Wi-Fi that's plugged into Untangle, we can actually create a rule based on the interface that access point's plugged into. Maybe all the public Wi-Fi goes through a different set of filtering. It just kind of depends on how granular you need to be. But if we have a directory to leverage and we have Policy Manager installed, those two are really powerful together because they let you separate traffic like that. And as you see, I can come in here to manage my policies. This is where I'll see all my policies. This is what was presenting information to that widget on my dashboard. And then I can create a rule right here with a lot of different conditions to push people through different policy. If I wanted to say, from noon to 1:30 on Mondays, everybody goes through a different policy. So we can do things that granular even. For the most part, it's easiest to do this by username, user group, if you have that available. If you don't have a directory to leverage, Untangle does offer a local directory where you can create users. Like I said, we have clients that are as small as 2-3 employees. So in an environment that small, a domain controller makes absolutely no sense. So they wouldn't have something like Active Directory. But if they needed to, they could just come into Untangle's local directory and create their users right here. So they would at least have usernames. That way, when I'm online and I'm streaming Netflix all day, you can come see that it's actually Chad doing that rather than just some local client IP. So it kind of depends on your needs, but if you want to, you can create local users here with username and passwords. Some of the most popular apps, I think, within Untangle fall pretty strictly under the umbrella of web filtering, content filtering. To me, that's a fairly big umbrella these days because you can't just think of someone sitting in a computer surfing the internet anymore. It's surfing the web, quote unquote, has become pretty ubiquitous. We can do it a lot of different ways now. So if I'm sitting in a computer using a browser to go to the web, an application like Web Filter is what can see that and scan it and prevent me from going to those URLs. So we can set up blocks with our categories here. We leverage a database that has over 500 million URLs categorized. So as you can see, I've mentioned a couple times, there's a bit of blocking for you just done right out of the box. So we block things like anonymizers, proxies, malware, phishing, fraud sites. You can also block things like online ads here. Things like adware and malvertising can be pretty nefarious, especially for small businesses. So you can block online ads here as well as in our ad blocker module. So you can kind of double up on that stuff too. If you're not sure about a category, you can do a quick lookup right here. If I want to, check ESPN.com, but we're blocking streaming video, that's going to block that site because ESPN.com is technically in 3 categories now. So a URL can be in up to 3 categories. If I block any one of these, I'm going to block that URL. So maybe I'm not blocking sports, but I'm blocking streaming video. And I get a help desk ticket. Hey, I can't go to ESPN, but we're not blocking sports. Well, it's because that streaming video category is catching it. So what we would then do is if I wanted available, I could come create a pass site rule to whitelist it. We also do have a blacklist. That's our block sites rule. So things like that are available here in the web filter. We can also create different rules to give people different kind of exemptions. If there's just a site or an app or a condition or two that need to be available for 1 or 2 people, 1 or 2 devices, we could do that right here without having to create an entirely separate policy now. So a lot of that is going to be completely moot if you're not doing deep packet inspection and decrypting HTTPS. As I mentioned, about 80% of the web is encrypted now. If you'd like to go, you could go to let'sencrypt.org/stats. That's a fun page I go to a lot just to see kind of the data on encryption and how SSL is functioning right now. And about 80% of the internet is using HTTPS now. So without those options to let us decrypt HTTPS and see that traffic, we're really in the dark with most modern services. That includes Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Wikipedia, Amazon. These are all HTTPS services now. So what we do is certificate-based decryption. This is the tried and true method of deploying a root certificate on an endpoint and making yourself the man in the middle for that device's encrypted traffic. This is a very standard thing. It's been done in the industry for a long time. So what we do is download our root certificate in the installer. We choose our protocols. It's set for the most common things by default. Once this is available, we can do a lot of different things to send the certificate to a device. We can do that through Active Directory's group policy. It's the easy way. You can do it locally from a machine on the LAN. Just sit down on the computer and type in your Untangle's gateway IP/cert, and it'll bring the certificate down. We can also stand up a captive portal page in front of any traffic that says, welcome to our network, agree to our terms, please be nice on the internet, and you have to download this certificate to get access. So that's going to do a couple of things. That's going, for one, people that don't care are going to download the cert and say, yes, I want your Wi-Fi, and they're going to basically give you access to decrypt their HTTPS and see their traffic. Somebody like me maybe is going to see your captive portal that wants a root cert pushed to my device, and I'm probably going to say no thank you because I know what it does to my phone, and then I'm just going to use my cell data, which is fine too. So once the device is on the phone, on the tablet, the laptop, whatever device, what we need is one of these rules in place. The certificate itself being installed on the endpoint is to me more or less just putting a key in a lock. So one of these rules are what actually turn the key and push the door open here. So as you can see in Rule 8 here, and these are all built in by default, by the way, because these are very popular services that are all encrypted now, we have to tell Untangle to go look at Facebook packets. We never inspect all SSL traffic. That's a little impractical now because of the nature of the web. So we do these little inclusions. So we would come in and say, we want SSL Inspector to say if there's ever a certificate coming across port 443 and the subject has the word Facebook in it, we need to look at that packet. And that's what lets us block Facebook or throttle the Facebook mobile app, that kind of stuff. So with these rules in place, we're doing deep packet inspection. And that makes us compliant with a lot of different standards in a lot of different industries. And that gives us visibility into all that traffic. And that's how we could actually look and say, I want to see what's being blocked on the web right now. I want to see what people are going to on the web right now. And that gives you real visibility. Without SSL Inspector active and configured, you're honestly filtering about 20% of the internet now. It's a necessary evil, to do deep packet inspection in 2018. So depending on the level, of granularity you need. We can deploy cert like that, and we can do things like use bandwidth control you see there to throttle a mobile app, or to say, I want to prevent, you know, downloads this big from having a priority. So between QoS and bandwidth control, we can do a lot of really interesting things right there. And then with the complete package install, that about 5 of my apps here will tie into each other with their signatures and their rules, and you can leverage rules from other apps. Bandwidth control, for example, can say if a mobile app is seen through application control here, and its productivity level is less than I want, I can throttle that. So all of these apps are listed as a productivity level of 1. And if you look at their categories, you can see they should be streaming media, you know, social networking, file transfers, games. These are not productive. So what I can do with bandwidth control is I can come say, well, I want to go ahead and enable a rule that is going to throttle anything that's not productive. So this rule right here, number 11, is doing exactly that. Anything with a productivity level of less than 2, we actually give it a low priority. But I would personally probably want to give that the lowest priority. So you just don't get to use those. That's not going to be any fun. So I've just throttled those mobile apps. So when we're stepping in on HTTPS and things like that, we can do some really, really, really interesting things from everything, you know, to filtering the web and mobile apps, to just getting the visibility. Who's doing what on the web, who's using the bandwidth, all kinds of stuff. It's a very, very complete solution, like I said, that falls under the big, broad UTM category. Because as you can see, we have 3 VPN apps, you know, and then also some more services with the captive portal and the firewall and things like that. Shannon, do we have any questions hanging out there that we haven't gotten answered yet? Any big easy ones?
Big easy ones.
Those are my favorite. I mean,
yeah. There was some questions about how can they purchase? You know, where can they go and get pricing and licensing information? So if you want to go over that a little bit.
Sure do. So if you come to untangle.com, as I said, another thing I think that kind of separates us a little bit is transparency. You don't have to go through layers of phone recordings or anything like that to get pricing from Untangle. You can just click buy right here, and all of Untangle's pricing will be available. You can actually generate your own quotes here on the buy tab. This is a really handy tool, but what I want everybody to keep in mind is that while it's handy, it's also retail, you know. So we are a small business and we can work with you, and we offer, you know, coupons and trade-in programs and discounts. Oh, that's a good sign. There we go. So the product configurator right here can be kind of a deep rabbit hole to just play around with and see what you can put together, because you can create your own software packages. Like I mentioned, I only want these 2 apps, but if I decide I need to filter the internet and create policies and leverage my Active Directory, it will tell me that I should switch to the complete because I'll save some money. So it's a really handy tool. As I said, you can add products to your cart right here and then just print out quotes. But I almost always recommend at least shooting an email over to sales@untangle.com and saying, hey, I have this situation. Is this the best option? I see this price. Is that my best option? Because you never know. You know, we might have a deal going on that month. We might have a little trade-in program that you didn't know you were eligible for, discounts you didn't know you were eligible for, that kind of stuff. So as you can see, our sales number is right there live on my site. But you can also just email sales@untangle.com and ask us any of these questions.
Great, thanks, Chad. Can you go over kind of the benefits and differences in buying an appliance, one of our appliances, versus using your own hardware?
Yeah, you bet. The quick, easy answer to that is support. You buy an appliance from us and it's got a warranty. You've got hardware support. If something goes wrong, you know, we send you one overnight with a label. And as soon as it's there, you get it in line and you get your network back and up and running. And then when you get a sec, you send us the dead one. Hardware support is a big one, I think. And we're now instituting like a customer care program too. If you buy one of our big devices and you're on a 3-year warranty, we're gonna contact you, you know, after the first year, make sure everything's working right, see if the box is still sized right. Some people are just hardware people, you know, and I get that. If you want to like to build your own and maintain it, you know, it's a fun thing for you. I completely understand that, and that's why we have these tech notes here. Not everyone can always afford a box from us. You know, they're pretty cheap, but it's not always in the budget. Or you're just a hardware person and you like to build your own and maintain them. So that's why we post these tech specs. So they're there for you. But the support you get from us, the box from us will come with Untangle already installed, so you don't have to do anything like making a bootable USB or burning it to a disk, anything like that. So to me, it's just a bit of an ease of use thing. It comes pre-installed with Untangle. All you really do is transfer your paid licensing through the cloud. So if you were to get a box from us, you could technically get it, basically get your licensing transferred as soon as it's online, and then you're up and running. You don't have to go through the entire process of installation and that kind of stuff. And then you have, hardware support, warranty, and all that fun stuff too.
Great, thanks, Chad. Just some more questions coming in.
Yeah, you bet.
So someone was asking about the free versus paid apps. If you kind of want to, I know you kind of went over that.
But we can show you the little page here. So under NG Firewall on our site here, you can go to software packages, and this will give you a little breakdown. Oh, I went to individual apps, didn't I? Let me go to the right one I'm talking about. This will give you a little breakdown between our complete package and our just standard free package. So like I said, when you download Untangle, you get 2 weeks, 14 days of our complete package. When that 14 days is up, you revert back to our free package. And you can see the apps that are included here in free. You get a firewall, you get intrusion prevention, phish blocking if we're seeing SMTP. You get a peek into HTTP traffic. Web Monitor, however, can't see HTTPS, and it can't filter any traffic on the web. So it's a very limited thing. Spam blocker lights available. Some other things like OpenVPN, Captive Portal, Tunnel VPN are free. If, for example, all you need is a captive portal and you need OpenVPN, those are part of our free package. So if that's all you need, you can just throw the free option on a box, get one of our boxes without any paid subscriptions, and then that the apps you need are available. So this page is on our site. If you go over under NG Firewall under software packages, and then there's also an individual apps page where you can read about each app individually. If you want to, you can also just click right here, and that'll take you out to that apps page.
Great, thanks, Chad. Someone's asking about cold spares and if that's a really good idea to purchase one of those when they're purchasing an appliance.
Sure. Yeah, it can be, I think, a great idea. So if you need a cold spare, which is a handy option, it's just a box that also has Untangle installed, but is basically turned off and sitting on a shelf. You can do that when you purchase an Untangle box. You'll get a little bit of a discount, I think, on the second box, and then you have a spare just sitting there with Untangle installed. This is also a pretty good use case for spare hardware. If you buy an Untangle box and you like it, maybe you decide you want a cold spare and you happen to have another device sitting around, install Untangle on that thing. That way you have an emergency backup. Then all you have to do is switch boxes and transfer your licensing, and everything's there. With Command Center, you can actually keep your configs the same. All you do is plug it in, transfer your config, your subscriptions, and you're back up. The cold spare option is really handy. I think when you need that kind of failover, it's obviously ideal to have 2 Untangle boxes because everything's up to date and all that stuff, and it's you have warranty basically and support with both boxes. But cold spare is also, to me, in my experience, a really good use case for your custom hardware. If you have something sitting around that you think you might want to try Untangle on, if you can, get it set up, and then you have a cold spare sitting there. For a warmer option, if we had 2 Untangle devices, we could also do a VRRP setup for a high availability kind of thing, where we do virtual routing. Both Untangles would share a virtual IP. That actually would bring everything over. So it depends on what you need. Cold spares, the manual process. VRRP is a little bit more automatic, but yeah, both require 2 boxes. So.
Great, thanks, Chad. Just want to reiterate to some people, yes, this webinar is being recorded. It'll be posted on the Untangle YouTube channel within 24 hours after this has ended. Let's see, a couple more questions coming in. There's some questions about the Home Pro product. Chad, if you want to kind of talk about that and the difference between that and our commercial license.
Yeah, Home Pro is awesome. To start, I mean, it's $50 a year, but it is a little bit limited. It's lacking live support, and depending on what you install it on, it can be a little bit limited. So a lot of our home users install it on like a Lexus router, and that architecture does limit our software because you can't install the reports database or the virus database. So if you buy one of our little devices, one of our little U25 devices, things like that, even one of our new X series devices, these things are awesome, 25X, and you throw Home Pro on there. You'll have the access to all those apps. It doesn't lack anything that ARM architecture firmware lacks. Home Pro is really handy. You can purchase support separately if you want to. It doesn't come with it, but you still get email support. If you email Untangle's support team, that starts a ticket and they'll get back to you and you can work the problem through the ticket. If you want phone support, you can always buy it. But if you, for example, are an admin and you get Untangle on your network, this is kind of just my experience with the home market. You tend to get spoiled to using Untangle. Just those interfaces and the software itself, it's very friendly and very easy. So the other sad but true fact about life in 2018 is that we kind of need these things at our houses now too. I'm just a single guy in an apartment and I have about 7 or 8 IPs that are active and I want protected. So you're used to something like Untangle at work and now you can get something just like that at home. So I think it's invaluable to have something like this at home, but the hardware you throw it on can limit things a little bit, but the subscription only lacks really support, which you can buy separately. So it's kind of an awesome value for $50 a year. I use it. I mean, I'm biased, but I like it. So.
Great, thanks. And I just want to reiterate, that's the Home Pro product is a non-commercial, residential only product. So if you're running your business at home and purchase Home Pro, then that is not okay. And we have the right to negate that license. So just
there are eligibility requirements. Yes,
exactly. So just want to reiterate that we do have the commercial product, which is NG Firewall, that really is the all-inclusive product that is perfect for your business. So I think that's about all the questions we have. There were some questions about running Untangle as a VM. Yes, you can run it as VMware. We have, Chad, while you're on the website, can you just go quickly to the download page and you can see all the different options that we have, just depending on how you want to install it. Whether it be on your server, firmware, VMware, we have the ISO and the image there. So it just really depends on how you want to do it. Like Chad said, we have a lot of options.
While we're on this page, I should throw out the little caveat. You see our virtual appliance. It is an OVA written for VMware because VMware is the hypervisor that we support. It's what our engineers use. It's what we write Untangle for. So that's the one that we can help you with the VM environment and the Untangle environment. If you want to use, Hyper-V or Citrix Zen, you can install our ISO into those, but you're kind of on your own with the virtual machine. We can help with the Untangle once it's installed, but that VMware ESXi, that's the only one we officially support here in the support office.
Great, thanks, Chad. I think that's about all the questions we have, and we're kind of almost out of time, so just want to wrap up a little bit. Chad did mention some of our programs we have that help with pricing. A lot of our customers are small businesses and don't have the large budgets that these large enterprises do have. So we are aware of that and offer these programs for you. If you, have an older Untangle subscription or appliance and want to, trade up and get a new appliance or a better subscription if you're, overreaching your max of your device count, we have this security upgrade program that provides you with some discounts if you do trade in that appliance. We also have, if you're looking at a competitor's product or have a competitor's product and you're looking at Untangle to replace that, we also have that trade-in promotion to receive some discounts on Untangle products. And we know, as many of the questions, some of the questions here today, many of you use us at home, and so those of you who decide from bringing us from home to bringing us to work, there's some special limited time pricing on that as well. We know a lot of you use us at home, but we'd love to help you out in your business sense too. So please give us a call. Or email your sales rep, or email us at sales.untangle.com to get more information about what promotions can be applied for you. Let's see. We are very excited. We're going to be going to RSA, the RSA conference 2018 in San Francisco. It's in April this year. If you're not aware of RSA, it is one of the largest network security conferences in the country. It's always in San Francisco. This is our, I think, 3rd or 4th time going, so we're very excited. If you're going to be in the area, or if you're planning to come out, please come visit us at our booth. We'd love to chat with you, understand how you're using Untangle, and chat with you, show you some of the new things that we're coming out with. Let's see. And I think that's about it. It's about the last of the questions. If we didn't get to your question, if you have a very specific question, please email us at sales@untangle.com. If you have a support question, support@untangle.com. If you want a very specific demo, if this wasn't enough for you, just contact us. We'd be happy to set that up. Chad and a couple of our other sales engineers would be happy to do a very specific demo for you. So I think that's about it. Thank you, Chad, for the great demo, and thanks everyone for joining. We hope to see you next time.
Thanks.